They say performance has an expiration date, but what if they're wrong? No matter where you start, the goal's the same: to be better, stronger, wiser, bolder. We're here for the relentless, those that don't back down, don't compromise, and don't quit. This is training for Masters athletes by Masters athletes, with a community that holds you steady. So say goodbye to random workouts, because whether you're stepping into following a program for the first time or stepping onto the podium, your journey starts here.
All right, guys, it's Masters of Motion podcast. We are back, stoked for another episode, and there's some really cool things happening for Masters athletes right now in this 2026 CrossFit Games season. We're really excited. I'm obviously, Rick, hello, hi, I'm going to move on. We're really excited to have Micah Shoemaker here because we just want to get right into this. Micah is both a friend of mine and just a brilliant human being who is involved in so many things. And while we'd love to dig in deep into Micah's background, which would be a really fun episode that we'll have to do something like that in the future, you know, we're just here to gather some details on this season. So, Micah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us. It's good to see you both.
Likewise.
Now, you were wearing a Magic City hat, and so it is out there. Give us a quick, Micah Shoemaker for Dummies version of who you are, how this situation has come together, and then share with us the news that you know.
Yeah, well, I'm a redneck from Birmingham, Alabama that happened to find CrossFit about a decade ago. And remember my first workout was Fight Gone Bad. And let me tell
Classic.
you, it went bad, really bad. Like most people, I kind of caught the bug and drank the Kool-Aid. And from there, got into, owning and operating gyms. And that led to, you can compete in this thing. I was still of the generation that you didn't know about the CrossFit Games, that you could actually compete in this. And from there, found myself coaching both elite athletes and getting into the event business. And that's where we are today.
That's amazing. And you've run the Magic City Games, and it used to be the 205 Throwdown down here in Birmingham for a number of years at this point.
Yeah, we've been, so the Magic City Games, as you already mentioned, kind of evolved from this local throwdown, and it just kind of, we realized very early on that that wasn't really what we wanted to be, but we had to start somewhere. And so for us, our goal is just to be able to grow every year, number one, but really our goal is just to be able to celebrate the athletes, that we have. And we talk about it all the time. It's like, it's their Super Bowl. There's the CrossFit Games. We're not trying to be the CrossFit Games, but I think we can be someone else's, CrossFit Games for the Susan or the Larry or whatever that's just going to the 615 class. And that's really where we've kind of made our bread and butter.
I've been to the Magic City Games 2 years in a row as someone who's attended. We've been a part of it as Boulder Athlete this year. And I actually did one of the qualifiers. So it was really great. Well done. The way that you run both qualifiers and competitions is way above your pay grade. Is that the right way to say it? The way you run it. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is you run it at a level that is so professional. It's so not like, it's not your gym's throwdown. It doesn't even feel like, it's not even a local throwdown level of quality. It's like this elite level quality that's totally overkill. Which is amazing because I feel like you are operating at a much higher level and that you've had this practice run at creating some really, really cool stuff. And now tell us what is coming from you in 2026 for Masters athletes.
Well, I think, look, growing up, and I'm sure my dad was not the only dad that ever said this, but it was the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And that was just instilled in me from a very early and young age. And it's something that I've really carried with me all of my life, whether that's with training, whether that's with running an event, friendships. It's just, it says a lot about a person, in the small things and how they go about, the process of developing themselves or their business or whatever it is that they're doing. And so back in, I believe it was January, I shot Dave Castro a message, which, by the way, he gives his email out if you just listen to his podcast. By the way, I don't have like a secret in. We sent him a message and just said, "Hey, I really think, and it was a very long message, but I'll sum it up. I really think Masters athletes should be treated the same as the elite athletes and given some of the same opportunities. Maybe not treated the same, but given the same opportunities as these elite athletes. Because here are the facts. Masters athletes make up the majority of the Open. They make up the majority of the CrossFit community at large, the global community. And I think it just makes sense to give them an opportunity to have in person, this is the catch, in person qualifying events, or as the rest of the world calls them, semifinals. And through that process, got to Dave, got to J-Mac, had some other conversations with the folks at CrossFit. And they were like, we've thought about doing this before. I didn't think it was an original idea by any stretch. I figured they had, but just kind of outlined what I thought could make sense from a qualifying standpoint. And so today, as the recording of this podcast, it is finally official. I can talk about it, that the Magic City Games will be a CrossFit semifinal for Masters only. And I'm very proud of that. That'll be hosted here in Birmingham, Alabama, May 1 through 3rd. And I could not be more excited to host not just the CrossFit community, but the Masters community, because I think, and I believe strongly, that they've been waiting for this for a very, very long time. It's well overdue.
That's great to hear. I think that, the dam has been broken. The idea of having in-person qualifiers for the Masters community, you always heard I think their official take back was, it's logistics. You're talking worldwide. There'd be no way to get and have that many. But here's something we know that on paper this year, they said we're going to have some. And it's great to hear your announcement of the Magic City Games being one of those.
Yeah, man.
It is crazy. We've been looking to this for so long, Rick. How many times have we talked either on this podcast or in messages we've sent back and forth or with other Masters athletes? Like, man, wouldn't it be great? Or did people have asked me, Jason, do you ever think we'll do in-person semifinals? No, I just don't think so. I don't think we will. I want to, but how do we do this? Again, like Rick said, how do we do this worldwide? How can this actually happen? And Micah, I remember when you were talking to me about this back in January, and I was like, you didn't ask if I thought it was a good idea. Somehow we were talking about it. I was like, dude, if you could somehow make this happen, if they say yes, that'd just be like, it'd be such an about face compared to anything we've ever had. And remember, I think I was copied in on the email that Dave responded to and said, yeah, let's talk. And we're like, wait, what? That was the extent, what? Yeah, let's talk about that. Or yeah, let's schedule this.
Yeah, no doubt.
That was this first glimmer of hope. And it was still coming off of a tough year from CrossFit. And January was still early into this year, obviously. And since January, what I think we're observing is like CrossFit is leaning into some things right now.
Yeah.
They're full throttle into the CrossFit Games next year's season. In-person semifinals for Masters athletes? Are you freaking kidding me? So tell us, now it comes to details. Rick, jump in.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, he said in one of his weekend reviews, hey, we're listening more to the community.
Yeah.
They're not listening to every idea, but they're taking in the ideas, seeing what makes sense, and then trying to be accommodative to those ideas that are out there. But yes, I think I know what Jason's going to ask now.
Well, just real quick,
want to hear more.
Real quick on that point. We've all heard the, likes of, hey, CrossFit doesn't listen. They do their own thing. And look, I think we're all familiar with that broken record. I'm just being totally transparent here. That narrative, in my experience from working with them this year, has totally not been the case. Categorically, no. They have been incredibly receptive to feedback on the group calls that we've had. They've been incredibly open and even inviting the feedback, asking for the feedback. And to be honest, they've given us, in my opinion, every tool to be successful and really gone out of their way to be as helpful as possible, because there's a lot of moving parts, which I know we're going to get into in a minute, of like how to qualify the spots. And all semifinals are going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to speak for other semifinals for obvious reasons that I don't have all the details. But what I can say is I do know that semifinal to semifinal is going to be unique in the way that they structure what they do and how they do it, which I can appreciate. And so CrossFit's been very accommodating for those sorts of things.
So it's not going to be at least from what you can say now, it's not going to be old regionals prior to COVID. I don't know, 6, 8 regionals around the world, and everybody is going to have the same workouts given to them, same tests. Okay. You're shaking your head. There we go. Okay. All right. And some people compete better in person. And I think this is just another avenue for those that are looking for that next level of competition and don't prefer all the time an online qualifier, but you can't get to in person unless you do well online. So it's catch-22.
Yeah.
But here's another chance out of quarterfinals into some of these semifinals.
Well, and CrossFit's already put this out. There's still going to be an online semifinal option, and that's out there. I'm not breaking that news here. Everyone knows that. So you can still, do that. But as we all know, there's video review, there's having, 13 judges, there's shutting the gym down for a weekend. I mean, you guys get it because you've done it. And I think that's been the pain point for a lot of Masters athletes. I don't want to speak for Jason here, but I would, I talked to him on a semifinal weekend. It's stressful. I mean, is that fair to say? To have
Hugely
to get it right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyways.
You said plural semifinals, that there's potentially multiple semifinal events. And I'm assuming this is something like, we obviously we're getting a small dose right now from HQ.
Yeah, you're seeing the ones that were released.
Yeah. What HQ can share is what's finalized, but it sounds like there's a number of opportunities, which is just going to be really interesting for this season. Multiple opportunities for in-person qualifications, and then the online qualification, do we have the dates for the online semifinal? I know we have it. I just don't have it off the top of my head.
Yes, we do. If you keep talking, I will come up with that here.
Rick's on it, man. Yeah, so we do have a few that are released now, and we know there's going to be more. How many more, I'm not at liberty to say, but there will be more, and there will be more Masters events. Again, I'm not going to disclose that because it's obviously not my news to share, but there will be a couple more. But in terms of the East Coast, the Magic City Games will be the option for the East Coast of the United States of America.
And for the listeners, again, you said your dates for Magic City were going to be May 1st through the 3rd.
Yes,
Age group online semifinals are May 7th through the 11th. A week after.
So I'll tell you what. I may attempt to do in person since it's in my backyard. That could be that. Honestly, I'm not upset. The games were in my backyard. The first year there was the age group games. It's just so fortunate that it was right here. You could probably put my name in the hat if I'm healthy, if I qualify to compete in person for this East Coast version at the Magic City Games. And really interesting, my mindset will be that the following week, I will either be competing as a backup plan or hosting, Masters athletes in an online affiliate, in affiliate semifinals, literally the next weekend. So that's really cool. Obviously, it's great that it's not in conflict. I mean, that'd be a challenge. But I would love to go into that in-person semifinals, maybe having locked in a spot. This is not a given. It's not a given. It's not a given that Jason Grubb wins everything. It takes a lot of things to come together. I mean, fingers crossed.
Here come the conspiracy theorists. In-person online semifinals coming to Birmingham.
In Birmingham. Oh my gosh, it's the semifinals. Jason doesn't go to semifinals. The semifinals come to Jason, is what we say here.
We're going to get some comments.
Okay, moving beyond.
Now, I have never been to Magic City Games. For those that have never been there, can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect or what you've done in years past and what you might be planning to do this year with what you're allowed to reveal?
Yeah, so I can talk about a lot. I can talk about everything that pertains to our event. I can talk about the field size. I can talk about the qualification to the games, how many spots that we have. I can talk about programming if you want to talk about programming. Like, there's definitely a lot of leeway there. I just can't speak to anyone else's event because, for sure. But in terms of Magic City Games, May 1 through 3rd.
This episode is powered by Thirdsy, your go-to for game-changing sleep recovery. Imagine hitting your workouts harder and waking up feeling unstoppable. That's what Thirdsy's PM Recovery Collagen does for me. It's like pre-workout, but for your sleep, fueling your body's active recovery processes without any melatonin or sedatives. Just one scoop before bed supports deeper, more restorative sleep so you can crush your fitness goals. Ready to experience the best rest and recovery? Visit Thirdsy.com and transform your nights into recovery power hours. Thirdsy, because sleep is the ultimate recovery tool. That's THIRDZY.com. Save 20% with code JASONZZZ. Let's get into the show.
There is no geofence. I want to start by saying that. So, meaning it is not subject to the East Coast of the United States or the United States or North America. This is going to be a global event, and we're going to invite people all over the globe. And so how that's going to work, I'm breaking this here first. So if you're listening to the Boulder or Masters in Motion, podcast, and you're hearing this first, which is this: the qualification to the semifinal, the Magic City semifinals, will be solely based upon quarterfinals. So there is no extra qualification or open, quote unquote, that you have to do to get into the semifinal. I've never understood that, quite frankly, why people have another hoop to jump through. Like, I like the old school where it's like quarterfinals, then semifinals. Let's stick with that. Everyone understands that. So what'll happen is at the end of quarterfinals, we'll go through every age group, depending on the field size that we have, and we can go into that. And we will literally go down the leaderboard, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to fill the field. You'll have 48 hours to accept your invite, yes or no. I feel like a country song, check yes or no, right? And from there, we'll backfill. And so it doesn't matter if you live in Egypt or you lived in Alabama. But if you're number one, you're getting the first invite, so on and so forth, to fill the field per that age group.
Can you talk about field size per age groups?
Yeah.
Do you have that formalized?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah. I mean, hey, I was
Here he is pulling his information up as we speak.
Yeah, I was ready to go, baby. For us, we are a Masters only semifinal, meaning there is no other teams or elites or even a community division. We are solely focused, and this is important to us because we also run a community event in July, and we didn't want to commingle the two because we want to do right by our community and just focus on them for that community event. And then we want to do right by the Masters community by focusing just on them for this semifinal. So I want to make that very clear for anyone listening. This is for Masters. That's it. And that was important to us, honestly, from the onset. So in terms of the field size, it'll be as follows. For the 35 to 39 age group, we're going to take 42 spots. So 42 people, male 42, female 42, 40 to 44, 42 spots, 45 to 49, 28 spots, 50 to 54, 28 spots, 55 to 59, 28 spots, 60 to 64, 14 spots, 65 to 69, 7 spots, and then 70 plus 7 spots.
These are all divisible by 7, Micah. Can you tell us about that?
Nice.
Because this is
great
heat
job,
size.
Jason.
Hey,
yes.
I do elementary math daily with my children. Well, I don't. My wife does.
He listens well.
Yeah. So the floor size will be 14 lanes, and that kind of determined everything. So yes.
Totally. That's great. So, okay, I'm 50 plus, so 28 spots. That's very cool. Rick and I will both be in the same division this year. It's going to be great. Fun. It's a lot of spots. And also, I do love that it comes out of quarterfinals. There's no extra hoops. That would create such chaos. I can only imagine going through the open and quarterfinals, having to do another qualifier, and then come to Magic City Games. There's actually not that much time, really, between quarterfinals, which are the last week in March, somewhere in there.
March 26th through the 30th.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 5 weeks.
Yeah.
5 weeks. I love that. I actually love that it's 5 weeks there and 6 weeks for the online semifinals. It's just, when it's dragged out so long, it's nice to just get those done. Then you move into your training for the game season.
I agree.
And it could be just a little bit longer. You can actually maybe take a break from the qualifier season. So that's just kind of how I like to do things. Micah, can you share, I mean, obviously we're chomping at the bit now. Is it just first place on a podium? Second place, third place? Is it different in divisions? How many qualifying spots do you have out of the 20? So my age group has 20, right, Rick? We've got 20.
20.
And then
Yeah, we have 20 to
some of the
wherever
undergrad
the
age
games will
groups
be
have.
next year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, the reason the field sizes are as big as they are is because since we're only masters only, right? Only masters only. That was a little redundant, but you get the point.
We
wanted to give the most amount of people the opportunity to come play. Like I don't want these tiny little field sizes of 15, especially for the really competitive age groups, 35 to 39, which honestly is just an extension of the elites. Like, let's be honest, those guys and girls incredibly fit and really all the way across the board. So that's number one for us, is we wanted to really have an inclusive field size. But in terms of those qualifying spots to the game per division, the 35 to 39 is going to be the podium 1, 2, and 3. 40 to 44, again, 1, 2, and 3. Now, this is where it changes. 45 to 49, top 2. 50 to 54, top 2. And the remaining, so 55 to 70 plus, is going to be the first place finisher.
So, Rick, tell me if I'm wrong, and at the higher age groups, the math doesn't work just right like this, but this is like 10% of the qualifying spots for the games
right.
happen at Magic City Games, right?
Yep.
If there's 30 athletes in the 35-year-old division that get to the games, 3 of them qualify through Magic City Games qualifier. And and then going in like our age group, Rick, there's 20 qualifiers, 2 spots taken.
10%.
And again, in my brain, we don't know all the details. We don't know how many total events there are, but I could do we talked about elementary math, and it's, again, this is just back of a napkin kind of math, but there's going to be a decent amount of spots we can conclude without getting into the weeds on this, but a decent amount of spots, qualifying spots that are coming from these in-person qualifiers. This isn't like a test run at this. This is a legit path to the games. Road to the games includes in-person semifinals and an online semifinal for Masters athletes.
Yeah. I can't get into, because it hasn't been released, I can't get into the totality of the spots, but I've seen them, and I can tell you this, people that are thinking, oh, I'll just fall back on the qualifier, probably have to think twice.
It's going to be a legit situation.
You're going to have to go in person. I'll say that.
So this does bring up a question, and you may not be able to answer this, Micah, but I'm wondering about if the following week is the online semifinals. Let's say I don't want to think about this, but not all of the in-person semifinals will be complete before the online qualifier, in my mind.
That is a good assumption.
It's a good assumption. You're not confirming or denying it. It's a good assumption. And just thinking logistically, like, it would be just really insane to, within a 5-week period after quarterfinals, to have all of these online semifinals all taking place like crazy. So let's say that they extend a little bit deeper into the summer. There's going to be a very clear amount of spots available in the online semifinal when it happens. Not necessarily a flexible amount of spots. It is going to be this amount. Here's the cut line on the online semifinals because of the other in-person semifinals that are all happening that all have claimed a certain spot.
You're correct.
Not geofencing. Go ahead, Rich.
Well, no, I was going to say, in years past, when I think the elites have done it, they've waited till the end of semifinals and then called it the last chance qualifier and turned it into a spot or two or something very small. Last year, the online qualifier for the elites was significantly smaller. I think we're seeing something like this move along now, filter down into the Masters. So, depending on where you live, you might get that invite. You might live in Denmark and say, I'm not going to be able to travel to Birmingham. I'm going to maybe wait for something in Europe, or I'll throw my hat into the ring on the online. Or if you live in Birmingham, like somebody here on the podcast, you're going to say, I'm going to try that.
Give that one a shot.
And then wait. So it's going to be schedule dependent, travel dependent, timing.
Yeah.
Holy busy.
This is really important to say. Though I and Magic City are not putting a geofence on our competition, others may. And I'm not going to speak to whether they are not, but they may, just like others may put a qualifier on their thing. So we are trying to have the lowest barrier of entry and make it as simple on Masters athletes and all athletes as possible versus a lot of different hoops. I'm sure you guys remember where it's like, if you live, west of this line, it's this, or east of this line, it's that. We're not doing any of that. Others may, again, I'm not saying they are or they're not, others may, but we are electing not to do that, nor create an additional barrier, i.e. a qualifier. So
that's very clean. Very clean way to look at it.
But those that are listening, I don't want to confuse anyone to say everyone's doing it this way, because they may not. So I want to make sure that's super clear.
The allure when I was coming through the ranks, or even starting out as a CrossFitter, like if you were in a room or in a gym that had a semifinals athlete, that was like a code of honor, right? Like, dude, she's a semifinals athlete, and that meant that she qualified to compete in a semifinals event. Like, that was a really big deal. It's same thing when you're like, oh, dude, that guy's a games athlete. That was like this again, like, wow, games athletes aren't as big as I thought they were. Like, look at that guy. He's not already, you just have this. I would elevate them in my mind when I would see them. That's a semifinals athlete. And this creates a little bit of that, like Magic City Games being an in-person semifinal, people that accept that invite and come and compete in person at Magic City Games qualifier or any of the other qualifiers are happening, like it feels like this even more legitimized. We do this as a hobby. We're not high paid athletes. We don't live on sponsorships. We're not full-time athletes, but there is really something about qualifying. That's why I love the quarterfinals is back, because there's so many athletes that want to be able to call themselves a quarterfinal athlete. And now there's this opportunity. So many athletes get to call themselves a semifinal athlete and actually show up and compete in a professionally run, well-executed event. And that, if there's one thing that I can, and I was alluding to this earlier, Micah, like, and I'm not trying to blow smoke. I'm just telling our listeners, Micah runs a professional event. It is well-run, well-organized. He is a thoughtful programmer. He's very, very intentional about the workouts that will show up. So, and actually with that, can you tell us the workouts? It'd be great. Just, if you could just, tell us.
I was going to ask about programming, but Jason cut to the chase. Just wants to go straight there.
To catch him off guard. He's just released the workouts. There's no doubt you've already started working on this, but tell us what some of your thoughts are on that side of things.
Yeah. So I'm a CrossFit like OG through and through. I think my first workout was Fight Gone Back. Like, I love the CrossFit methodology. But with that being said, I also recognize that the competition scene is a show, and sport is for entertainment at the end of the day. So you're balancing it being a good test with the entertainment component of that. And so for us, I'm not releasing any secrets here. You can literally go back and look at our Instagram or social media, and you could find everything I'm about to say out if you just looked, which is, we historically, I'm not saying we will or we won't, I'm just saying we historically have athletes ride bikes outside. Historically. We historically run outside. Okay. We historically do strongman implements. Again, I'm not saying we will or we won't. I'm just sharing what we historically have done. You could take that for what you want. I will say this, though, is the 20th anniversary of the games. I think that is incredible, first of all. And this you will not find on our Instagram, which is, I fully plan, and we are planning, as in right now, and have been planning to have a very CrossFit themed, CrossFit Games, CrossFit Old School Regionals themed programming. So Masters athletes, you can expect old versions of old regionals. And I'm talking old regionals. I'm talking 2013. I'm talking old school stuff that's been retooled and kind of modernized to like fit where athletes are now. But we are not reinventing the wheel. I want to be super clear about that. We are paying tribute to an incredible history that is the CrossFit Games.
Please tell me that you're going to employ a hopper and just roll the hopper, pull a couple exercises, movements out, and that's going to be a workout at the Magic City Games.
But that's really hard to do.
I know. This is why Dave doesn't do it. It's impossible to have it fit appropriately given loading and movements and what you've done and haven't done already. I get that. But That'd be great to just wheel it out there and get everybody all freaked out.
You know what I love about it is I love, and Rick and I will geek out on this at times. We can, and Mike, we could all, for fun, we could just be like, okay, guys, event 4 from the 2016 CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
What was it? And, in your database, like I saw Rick's eyes switch back 2016. Let's see. Okay. So Frazier. No, you're working through all these things. Like we know this thing and we're students of this because we love the sport, love that old school thing. I know that when I'm as a programmer for Boulder Athlete and I'm thinking about an upcoming competition, let's say the CrossFit Games, I'm historically looking at what's been tested at the games, old school CrossFit and new school CrossFit, all over the years. And we're practicing and testing for that. And to now think my brain gets excited as the programmer, the geek behind the scenes at Boulder. I start to think about, okay, so if we're going to be starting to think about semifinals, we're going to have to start testing some old school regional stuff, which is obscure. This is like going into the archives. We got to crack open and dust off some books, like some scribes. We got to unroll some scribes and see what were they doing back then in regionals and maybe even sectionals. I don't know. But that old school feel, being that we've got this 20-year history of not just games tests, but this whole tree of tests underneath that, or root system of tests under that. It makes me excited. It makes me really excited to tease out how we train for those things without knowing anything. With our eyes blindfolded, except that we do have the historical data to look at.
Yeah, it's all there.
3 days of a competition. Would you expect to have roughly the same number of tests as we would see the following week in the online, or are you thinking about Magic City in just a vacuum and saying, no, in order to produce what we believe will be the best athletes that we can qualify through, we're going to make it a comprehensive test? Obviously, what you said, maybe inside, outside, and it might have more, probably won't have less, obviously, than an online semi.
So they've changed it quite a bit. So what are your let me ask you a question. What are your expectations for an online semifinal? And then I can answer the question.
Okay. More than 4, please. We've been stung with that a couple times.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And,
so
4 events over 5 days or whatever like that. And that's all you get. You better not have a bad event.
Yeah. I'm happy to talk through that. So it's going to be 5 to 6 events. And the reason I say 5 is, and we'll get into this later, I'm not going to give everything. The older divisions, like 70 plus, probably not doing 6 events. 35 to 55, yeah, you're going to do 6 events for sure. No doubt.
It is a great time of year actually to have an event in Birmingham. Early May is gorgeous. It's just beautiful. So, if one were to be orchestrating an event who has historically gone outside on bikes or on runs, or, this year you did strongman implements in an empty, massive football stadium. It was epic. It felt like a gladiator stadium. The stadium is made out of concrete. So it looked like a gladiators on a field in the middle of the stadium. It was really cool, really well done, brutal workout. But it wouldn't be the worst idea, I think, for those of us that are considering this semifinal to go back through and take a look at what Micah has produced at Magic City Games historically, even taking a look at the 205 throwdown, to dig a little bit deeper, to get to know Micah's brain, even though if he's programming something that is historical CrossFit, it's got those fingerprints on it. It's still, you get to know the programmers of events and study the way they think and what they like to test. And I know that's what I'll be doing in preparing for this competition, is getting to know how does Micah think about this in what he's given the world so far.
Yes and no, because the influence, no doubt, I'll say it, is going to be past events. And by past events, past CrossFit Games, CrossFit regionals, sectionals even. That's what I'm drawing inspiration on, because I think there's only one time ever you're going to get a 20th anniversary. And I think it's obviously the actual CrossFit Games is making a really big deal of it. And I think that kind of trickles down all the way to us as well. And so what is interesting, and what I will say is, we are having the event at an arena, but we're also using the building that's adjacent to it. It's called the Crossplex. So we're taking over the entire building complex. It's huge. I'm not going to tell you what's in the Crossplex. I'm going to make you go Google it. But if you're smart and you want to come to this event, I would suggest go Googling the Birmingham Crossplex, because it's going to give you a really big hint on something I'm going to do. But you'll have to Google it. You have to do a little work. Because I'm not telling you.
I'm not even going to tell him. Oh my God. Wow. I took a look at it. Bro. I mean, in the pod, I couldn't help. I had to look it up, and I'm like, I'm just seeing pictures of like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
you should, and that thing has some cool features that we're going to use. So
wow. Okay.
if you want to come to our event, you should probably go look that up.
Everyone pause it. Everyone just pause their podcast while you're driving and glance at this thing. We won't dig into it. You just, if you just Google it, you're going to see some pictures.
Yeah.
That
you'll find out.
Yeah. I didn't expect that. Okay.
Wow.
That'd be fun. What a playground.
We, I guess with the amount of events that will be in person between semifinals for the individual athletes, plus these in-person qualifying stages for Masters, there could be a little bit of a pull or a strain on judging resources. Are you you're working with some of the, maybe is it the AFP again, or are you using local folks, do you think? Because what you've already demonstrated is you know how to run a very high level community focused event regionally to you. But how does this play into the resources that you might need to run an in-person qualifying event?
Well, I'll say this. CrossFit didn't just allow me to sign on the dotted line without doing any vetting. There was a lot of vetting, and I would like to think a demonstration of executing at a very high level over time. So in terms of specifically what we do things a little bit differently, and they're not good or bad. I think it's just we've found what works for us and we do it. So to give our director of judges a shout out, Tad Carter, who's an amazing L3. He's sitting for his L4 this year. He should have it before we actually go to the competition, which is going to be incredible. But he has reshaped, and I got to give him really the credit for this. He's reshaped how we've thought about judging. And what I mean by that is we host local, in-person, free seminars for judges, for people that want to be judges. And we teach them how to judge. We go through specific on how a lane is set up. So we look at it as kind of taking, if you've ever taken the CrossFit online judges courses, or if you've sat in any of the AFJ stuff, some of their white papers, and we've kind of taken a kind of conglomeration of those things and distilled it down for people that are either newer or wanting to take that next step and get on a competition floor. And so we spend a lot of time, resources, and by resources, I mean money, in developing our local community and our regional community to be the best sort of judges that they can. And so I'm very lucky that we have a great group of judges. As always, we'll bring in help where we need it. Honestly, we do a great job with the people that we have.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I got to give the credit to him on that.
Will there be, and sadly I have to ask this because I've seen this, experienced it, Jason's experienced it in his age groups as well.
Yeah.
Will there be drug testing for those qualifiers? Or
yeah, so
just because I think they do, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they at regionals for elites, or
yes,
or random for those regionals? I'm not sure how it works because it's out of my my scope.
So I know. So to answer your question on the semifinals, in terms of the elites, yes, they typically test, like, depending on the semifinal, 1 through 5, 1 through 6, for backfills and those sorts of things of people. But in terms of the Magic City Games, we haven't gotten that far down kind of the rabbit hole to talk about those specific operations. I do know that in the agreements that we've signed, we've agreed to drug testing. So that's definitely been covered. Now, exactly, is CrossFit going to send people out, or, where the onus falls? I can't really speak to that right now, as we're still working through that. But I do know that it was included as a consideration and as a point they're thinking about. So that's all I can say right now.
I love that it's in the paperwork. I love that you have to agree that it could happen.
100%. And I'm all for it.
Whether they can't, yeah, I'm all for it too. I think as Masters athletes, we're going to be super thankful that this exists. And I don't think we need to get in the weeds about this too much. Obviously, it would be great if or many athletes were tested before the games, before the
I agree.
qualifying spots are there. But we understand like there's also huge amounts of Masters athletes numbers wise.
Yeah. I mean, look, personally, I would love for, at a minimum, the people that are at least qualifying to be drug tested. But obviously I understand that that's a resource strain on, surprise, it costs money to drug test people. If for those listening, they're like, yeah, you should drug test everybody. It's like, yeah, well, that's really expensive too. So, there's that.
Well, this has been great. Yeah,
excellent.
Micah, thanks for coming on so quick with us. We're, obviously, I think as Masters athletes, really excited about this. And one of the things that would be really cool for those that are listening, there's questions that we either don't have time to ask tonight or didn't come up. And if you have questions about this, leave those questions in the comments below. We'll all three kind of pay attention to the comments on the YouTube channel in particular. So go to YouTube. That's where all of the comment interaction happens. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, that's great. But you could just head over to the Jason Grubb YouTube channel where this is released and be a part of the comments. We would love to hear from you guys. What do you think about this? What questions do you have? There's more information to come from HQ. There's more announcements to come out, but this is what we know for now, and that's really, really cool. Whatever we can answer, we'll answer, and whatever we can't answer as a member of the CrossFit Athlete Council, myself, if any major things come up, we can always push that to HQ and let them, kind of handle that. So whatever we can do amongst the three of us to provide clarity, provide more resources for Micah to share the workouts all in advance, anything that could be helpful would be great.
Yeah,
Go ahead, I was going to say, we're going to make the listeners here Google the Sportsplex or Crossplex.
Crossplex, yes.
And also where Birmingham gets the name Magic City from. I was dying to ask that. I'm going to let them Google it. I did not know that. And that's a real interesting answer. So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, so that's just really quick. That's how, and I'm not going to give it away either, but that's how we got the trademark that there may be magic in the soil, but the roots are in the people. And that kind of gives a little hint, magic in the soil. That's the hint. So anyways, we're really excited
likewise
to host Masters in Birmingham. I think this is great for the sport. I think it shows CrossFit is listening. CrossFit is very in tuned and plugged in to the community, number one. And number two, a stakeholder in trying to make it better for everyone. And I think this really shows that, and at least in my estimation. And truly, we couldn't be more excited to host the first of its kind, which is a Masters only CrossFit semifinal. And I think it's going to be one hell of an event. And I hope there's a lot of people that come out, not just to compete, but then to support these people, because that's how we make this bigger. And that's how we make it better, is by people coming out and being a part of ultimately the solution instead of, the keyboard warriors. We all know those folks. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, let's go. That's all I want to say is let's go. Let's do this thing. It's awesome. Micah, I think on behalf of Masters athletes, we could say thank you for initiating a call with HQ. Probably a lot of right time, right place, momentum building kind of conversations that you had with Dave and then the team, and then however that escalated. Thank you for taking the initiative on that, and for you giving two Masters athletes something like this, for putting your name into the ring. Like, hey, I want to do this. We're appreciative as Masters athletes, and again, it's great that you're doing it. I'm really stoked. It's going to be an amazing event.
Well,
thank you very much,
man. I think, I've said this over and over again. You, Jason, have done more for the Masters community than anyone else. The way you talk about it, the way you post about it, the way you do weekly videos, and people could say, oh, well, he has to do that for money or this. It's like, no, he doesn't. Number one, but number two, doing that, creating awareness, creating positive momentum and press. I mean, that right there is what we need more of, I believe, in this community. And so truly, hearing someone like you say that obviously means a lot. And, appreciate your going to bat when they didn't know who the hell I was. And so there's a lot of appreciation towards you and what you're doing for this community. And though I'm not a competitor of yours necessarily, I'm sure all your competitors could appreciate at a very minimum what you do to elevate the sport. Maybe not taking their trophies away, but certainly to elevate the sport, because that's, again, in my opinion, that's what we need more of. So, thank you for having me, and
the future is bright. Our best days are ahead of us, I'd like to say. So very cool. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you for your time.
We will see the rest of you guys soon. And to those out there in the Masters world, tune in. Anytime we get some updates about even more of this, we'll try to make our show come out as quickly as possible. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
See you next time.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. We'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.